Greetings from Finland. Good afternoon. My name is Tommi Snek. Mr. Juha Ropilo from Finskan asked me to give you a presentation about sawmilling conditions in Finland. I have two topics for you. First of all, about the Finnish sawmill industry today and how the COVID has created challenges for us. And the second part is concerning an investment that we have announced last summer. So my name is Tommi Snek. I'm the chairman of the Finnish sawmills and also the director of the sawmill industry at Koskisen. Koskisen is a family-owned wood industry company. Our turnover is about 250 million euro this year. We employ about 1,000 people. We are 100% family owned by Koskisen family. And we have four main business units. Biggest is panel industry, which consists of plywood industry, making birch plywood. Then we have the only particle board factory in Finland, belonging also to the panel industry. Then the sawn timber industry. We have two sawmills. Järvelä sawmill cutting about 300,000 cubic meters, located 1 hour from Helsinki. And then another 1 hour northeast, small oak sawmill. Actually it's a lease sawmill. The mill owner is a familiar company to you, Huso. But we rent the facility and we cut their pulp logs. The production is about 50,000 cubic meters finished goods. Then we have also a small business unit making thin plywood, and all wood procurement in the company is done by our own wood procurement company, which also is doing a lot of bioenergy business here in the southern Finland. This is an image of Koskisen main site in Järvelä. Probably some of you have visited us in your tours in Finland. This is the site where we have the plywood factory, the chipboard factory and the saw line. We also have another site here in Järvelä which have the end part of the sawmill, kilns, trimming plant and also the further processing. First of all, a little bit about the market and what has happened in last year. This is a time frame reaching from last November. If we go through what has happened since that, it's really a year to remember. November, about 1 year ago, in November, everybody was expecting a difficult winter here in Finland. The stocks were rising and the market didn't seem too good. Then we had a very mild winter already in November, December, and we had first strike in December. Not first ever, but first in 1 year time. This was due to the salary negotiations with the union that we had in the spring. But the first strike in December, and at this point, some of the mills belonged to this strike, and they were closed for 3 to 4 weeks. Then in the first quarter we had a second strike with almost all the mills included, and that lasted for 4 weeks. Also the mild weather conditions continued then and harvesting was really difficult. But these two strikes together, they already sent the stocks downwards, and market seemed to be better because of less supply. Also in Russia, harvesting conditions were really difficult all the way to Uralsk, so the Russian supply was also low. Like we all know, in March we had the COVID outbreak, and this paralyzed the markets for a while. For example, like you know, in the US in April we had record low sawn timber prices. But then things started to improve. In June already the US prices started to climb up very fast, and this was also the time that we announced our sawmill project that I will tell you later. In August, September, market was okay, but it was still the same wait and see attitude towards the winter, what's going to happen. But suddenly then in September, October, now 2 months back, prices started to climb very fast, also here in Europe. I think main reason for this was that this, so to speak, delayed price increase was the fact that still during the summer the Japanese market and the North African market were quite slow. So we didn't have the same price rally as in US. But now finally this autumn prices started to increase fast, but this was a big surprise for everybody. And now in the fourth quarter we're again repeating a little bit same story as last year. So log shortages at many mills occur because of mild weather conditions and wet conditions, plus the low utilization of the pulp and paper industry. So a lot of pulp and paper mills have been hit by the COVID and they don't use the pulpwood, so harvesting activity has been very low. This results in also, together with the strikes of course, result in a lower production in Finland. If we look at this year production and compare it with last year's, we are about 1 million cubic meter behind. So the estimated production for this year in Finland will be around 10 million cubic meters. Here you can see the lower harvesting activity. The green line is 2019 harvesting activity, and if you compare that with the black bars, which are the weekly roundwood purchases from private forest owners for all Finnish companies, you can see that the purchases are much lower than last year and significantly lower than in 2018, which was a high year in the log trade. But the lower production, not only in Finland but also in Russia, and the difficulties that you might know from Central Europe with the insect and storm damaged wood, has caused quite a good market recently. If you look at the stock level in Finland, now after September, it's about 1.1 million cubic meter, which is very low for a usual autumn month. It's even lower than in 2018 when we had the high market. So at the moment stock's very low and prices keep rising. Then we come to the biggest problem of the Finnish sawmill industry. I dare to say that we haven't been hit by the COVID so much. Like you know, renovation, remodeling, and lack of traveling, both business and pleasure-wise, has caused people to stay home and doing more renovation. So the demand for lumber is quite good, also in the Finnish domestic market. But the problem with the Finnish mills is the profitability, and I will tell you why. If we look at the log price first of all, here we can see a curve from 2015 until today. And if we compare to the 2018 high market, the log price has dropped about 8 euros, a little bit less in whitewood and a little bit more in redwood, but in average about 8 euros per cubic meter. But if we look at the sawn timber prices in Finland, this is the export price, we can see that from the 2018 high point, whitewood has dropped 20 euros and redwood about 43 euros. So if our yield is about 2, so it means that the log price has compensated only about 16 euros from these losses that we had for the sales price. So the profitability is very poor, especially if you look at the redwood. Why is it like this? I think the main reason is that the log trade in Finland is traditionally made with the sawlog price. We have 3 big companies, like you know, dominating the log market, and their major business is pulp and paper. So if they need to increase the prices in the log trade, they do it with the sawlog rather than with the pulpwood. So here you can see the index sawn timber price and the log price. So if the index is above 0, it means that the log price has increased more than the sawn timber price. So actually today it's about 120 the index, so we are 20% higher in the log price compared to the sawn timber price since 2010. This has led to the weak profitability of the Finnish sawmills. Here you can see the earnings before interest and taxes percentage. So you can see that even in the highest market and best years, 10% in average has been a very good result, and this is average, so there is good and bad. But now you can see the recent months clearly going to the minus also in the EBIT numbers. Then a few words about Koskisen sawmill investment. So we are one of the biggest private sawmill companies in Finland, but also producing plywood and other panel products like I told you in the beginning. But sawmilling has been in Koskisen for, actually it's the origin of Koskisen, so about 110 years ago Mr. Kalle Koskinen started Koskisen from a sawmill. So unfortunately our mill is old, but it's not that old. So the mill that we're currently running is built in 1993. And this is a usual story in Finland because of the weak profitability. There has been very little big sawline investments in the private sawmilling industry. So our mill also is from the 90s, but also some machinery from 70s and 80s. And our problem today is that we are on a two-site. Like I told you in the beginning, the saw line is in the other side, and our end part of the sawmill with the kilns, trimming, and the biggest planing capacity in Finland is located on the other side, about 4 kilometers away. So we have significant transport cost. So this is the main reason behind the investment. Here you can see the picture where we have illustrated the new possible sawmill at our site where we have the kilns and the end part of the sawmill, including the further processing. So it's about 35 to 40 million euros project with the new sawmilling feed, saw line, green sorting and stick stacking. And in the first stage we would still transport the logs from this other site, but we have also purchased the area for a possible log yard investment in coming years. Targeted start for this new mill would be in 2022. Final decision should be made in winter, this winter. We're still waiting for the environmental permit, and of course due to the COVID outbreak we have still a little bit difficulties with our financing because banks' attitude to big projects like this is a little bit careful, so to speak. Some more information about the investment. Here you can see on the left side the preliminary layout. What we have thought is that, let's say, extraordinary things to a normal Finnish sawmill is that we also plan to put this kind of sorting tables after the debarking line, which is a traditional way of cutting in the US. We have planned 2 green sorting lines, one with the horizontal pockets, one with the vertical pockets for centerpieces. We have planned quite a long log table to be able to bring logs directly from forest, so that we would sort them already in the forest, because the new saw lines, they enable more flexible change of settings, also log by log. Other main improvements compared to the current is of course moving from one site to another, so less maintenance people needed. At 2 sites we can focus all operations on one site. Big leap in efficiency in material and labor, so currently we run 15 shifts per week, and target is with the new saw line to run 10 shifts per week. But still the production would go up from 300,000 cubic meter finished to 365, so the efficiency leap is really big. Yield wise, today we are at about 2, so we need 2 cubic meters of logs for 1 cubic meter of sawn timber. So there we are expecting about 5% improvement. Another important matter is of course the headcount. So this 15 shifts per week to 10 shifts per week means that we could reduce the headcount from current 27 people to 11 people. So all this together, the payback time for such a big project is relatively short. So we have calculated about 6 years payback time. This is my presentation. You can see my contact details on the first slide. If you have any good questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can write email to me or call. Thank you for your attention.